Have you ever stepped into a city and felt something shift in your spirit, as if the air itself was warning you, as if the walls were whispering, as if unseen eyes were watching every move you made? It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't your imagination. Some places aren't just built on land. They're built on ancient agreements, silent pacts, hidden rituals, forgotten blood. And no one talks about it. Not on the news, not in history books. But the atmosphere doesn't lie. You feel it in your bones. Cities where the light flickers, even under the sun. Cities where your spirit feels heavy, where the night is darker than it should be, where dreams turn violent, and peace runs from your soul. If you're a chosen one, you've already felt it. You've already walked through places where something invisible tried to silence you, drain you, contaminate you. And the worst part? It all looks normal, beautiful even. But behind the cafes, the temples, the smiling tourists, there are forces at work, real forces. Rituals still being done, spells still echoing through the streets, spirits still claiming territory. These aren't metaphors. These are strongholds, spiritual nests of manipulation, oppression, and deception. And if you step in unguarded, they will notice you. Because you carry light, and where there's true light, darkness never stays quiet. Today, I will show you 5 cities where darkness walks freely. Places where witchcraft isn't folklore, but foundation. Places where the chosen ones become targets the moment they arrive. This isn't about fear. This is about awareness. This is your divine briefing. If you've been feeling spiritually attacked, chronically drained, or disconnected without reason, the answer might be geographical yes. Some locations carry curses. Some cities weren't made for you to thrive in, and the enemy knows it. That's why you're watching this, because your spirit knows something's off. So stay with me. Every second of this video will reveal something most people will never understand. And when we reach the 5th city, you'll realize this message came right on time. Before we continue, if this resonates with you, click the like button now. Not as a favor to me, but as a declaration. I choose to stay spiritually awake. Subscribe if you haven't. This isn't just content. This is spiritual intelligence. And comment 99 below, because Psalm 99 speaks of a God who reigns in power and justice, even over the darkest lands. Let's begin. City number 1, Salem, Massachusetts, USA. The city that never forgot. Salem looks harmless at first glance. Charming streets, wooden houses, little shops with candles and crystals, friendly tour guides talking about history. But history doesn't linger the way Salem does. The energy here doesn't sit quietly in the past. It breathes, it moves, it remembers. And the moment a chosen one steps into this city, the atmosphere reacts as if the ground itself knows who you are. Because Salem is not a museum, it's an echo. An echo of unresolved screams, broken souls, and rituals disguised as folklore. People love the stories, but they forget that stories start with something real. In Salem, witchcraft isn't a chapter in a book. It's a frequency, a vibration woven into the soil. And while tourists snap photos of symbols painted on windows, they have no idea that some of those symbols were never meant for entertainment. They were markers, seals, coordinates of spiritual activity that never fully shut down. The rituals may have changed names, become modern, aesthetic, or harmless, but the intention behind many of them still touches forces that don't play games, forces that recognize spiritual authority and respond to it. When a chosen one walks through Salem, the air shifts. It tightens around your chest. You're not imagining it. It's spiritual resistance. This city tries to read you. It tries to see what you carry. And if your light is strong, Salem does what darkness always does. It calculates how to interfere. Some chosen ones report sudden headaches. Others feel a wave of sadness with no explanation. Others experience intense dreams after leaving, as if something followed them home, desperate for one last whisper. That's because Salem is not passive, it's active. It's a spiritual archive that still wants to feed. But here's what most people don't know. The true danger in Salem is not the rituals performed centuries ago. It's the rituals happening today, hidden behind wellness practices, meditation circles, ancestral workshops, and energy gatherings. Many of them open doors, real doors, and leave them unlocked. And a city where multiple portals stay open becomes a magnet for wandering spirits, fractured energies, and the kind of entities that crave the sensitivity of a chosen one. If you're unguarded here, your mind becomes the battlefield, your emotions become the entry point, and your spirit becomes the reward. Salem doesn't attack loudly, it seduces quietly. It whispers ideas into your thoughts. It drains your discernment slowly. It makes you second-guess your intuition. And the most dangerous part? It appears gentle on the outside, beautiful even. But the greatest traps are always wrapped in beauty. The enemy knows that well. And yet, there is something even deeper hidden in Salem. Something most people will never sense, but every chosen one will eventually feel a wound. An ancient wound in the atmosphere. A wound created by injustice, fear, manipulation, and death. That wound became a doorway, and that doorway became a cycle. And that cycle still spins today, pulling spiritually unprotected people into confusion, obsession, and darkness disguised as enlightenment. But if everything I've said so far unsettles you, then good. Because you need to hear this. Salem reacts strongest to those whose calling threatens darkness. If you feel heaviness there, if you feel watched, if you feel spiritually pressed, it's because the city recognizes your assignment. You are not vulnerable. You are noticed. And the deeper truth? Salem isn't the most dangerous city on this list, not even close. If this place already makes your spirit alert, wait until you hear what hides in the next one. Because the second city doesn't just whisper to your soul, it tries to rewrite it. City number 2, Glastonbury, England, where mystic means manipulation. There are places that don't shout darkness. They sing it softly. Places where the air smells like incense, the people speak of peace, and every corner promises spiritual awakening. Glastonbury is one of them. Crowned as a sacred site, wrapped in legends of Avalon and divine healing, it seduces thousands who seek truth. But here's what most don't see. The danger in Glastonbury isn't in its shadows, it's in its false light. This is not a city ruled by obvious evil. No blood on the walls, no screams in the night. Instead, you find symbols of supposed divinity everywhere. Crystals, pyramids, wands, sacred springs. People gather to chant, to manifest, to align. But align with what? That's the question few dare to ask. Because the energy here is not neutral, and the moment you surrender to it without spiritual discernment, you step into a current that pulls you away from clarity and toward confusion. Glastonbury sits directly over powerful ley lines, ancient energetic pathways many believe influence spiritual activity. But not every energy current flows from heaven. Some were hijacked. In Glastonbury, these lines have been tapped by centuries of ritual, enchantment, and invocation. This isn't a theory. It's a network, a living system of spiritual exchanges that continue to operate beneath the surface. Some ceremonies are open, others secret, but all feed something and chosen ones. You don't just walk into this city, you walk into an arena of invisible seduction. Many arrive with noble intentions, to find healing, to find guidance, to connect with the divine. But they leave with spiritual exhaustion, mental fog, and a strange sense that something sacred was drained. That's because Glastonbury doesn't attack like a demon. It embraces like an angel. Its danger is in its beauty, in its messages that sound right but twist truth, in its ceremonies that simulate the divine but pull you deeper into dependency on objects, rituals, and personalities. It's not spirituality. It's spiritual manipulation, and if you're a chosen one, your light becomes a threat here. You'll find yourself met with resistance cloaked as welcome. People will smile at you, but something behind their eyes will hesitate. You'll feel it when your prayers feel blocked, when your spirit feels watched, when your clarity turns into chaos. That's not coincidence, that's confrontation, because real light exposes false ones. There's something few talk about, the spiritual jealousy that operates here. Spirits and people who sense your anointing and try to mimic it, discredit it, or absorb it. Glastonbury has become a stage for spiritual performers, many of whom channel without testing the source. Entities are invited into open vessels, and when a chosen one walks into the room, carrying fire instead of fog, the masks tremble. They don't want you here, not because you're wrong, but because you're too real. But don't misunderstand. Not everyone in Glastonbury is evil. Many are genuinely seeking. But the spiritual atmosphere is thick, layered, and unstable. It's filled with overlapping frequencies, some divine, some deceiving. That's why so many who visit feel spiritually intoxicated at first, only to crash days later with anxiety, confusion, or burnout. The light here flickers fast, because it was never rooted in truth. And still, this city is not the climax of our journey. If Glastonbury manipulates with beauty, then what's coming next confronts you with raw spiritual heat, because the third city on this list doesn't hide behind mysticism. It burns with ancient spirits still active today. Stay alert. What's coming will shake your discernment to the core. City number 3, New Orleans, Louisiana, USA, the gateway of voodoo spirits. The French Quarter hums with music, laughter, and light. But beneath that rhythm, there's a pulse far older and far darker. New Orleans doesn't just hold culture. It holds contracts, spiritual contracts, written not in ink, but in ritual, in blood, in offerings, in whispered names that still echo through alleyways and cemeteries. This is not just a city. This is a portal, a living altar, a spiritual hotbed where real forces respond, not to tourists, but to vibration, to intention, to bloodlines, to anointings. Here, witchcraft doesn't hide. It parades. It dances in plain sight, but it's masked behind the language of tradition, heritage, and celebration. Voodoo shops line the streets. Statues of spirits sit openly on shelves, and rituals are sold like souvenirs. But make no mistake, something ancient is watching, and the moment you enter this atmosphere, your spirit is scanned. If you're a chosen one, they'll know. The spirits here don't need names, they recognize light. New Orleans is one of the only cities in the Western world where graveyards are more spiritually active than churches. Entire ceremonies are conducted over tombstones, offerings are left at crossroads. And while most laugh it off as cultural flair, the spiritual world doesn't joke. These are not myths, these are mechanisms, doorways. Spiritual gates where demons are invoked under the disguise of ancestors. And what many call harmless connection with the dead is often a binding, a transactional exchange where something is always claimed in return for the unguarded, the naive, the curious. This city can charm you into participation. A necklace here, a chant there, a candle lit without discernment. Suddenly your soul is tangled in a contract you never intended to sign. But for the chosen ones, the danger comes faster. Because your aura doesn't blend, it disrupts. And disrupting ancient systems doesn't go unnoticed. Many chosen ones report sudden illnesses after visiting, nightmares that feel more like visitations, sudden emotional breakdowns, dreams of snakes, eyes watching from walls, shadows that move without light. That's not superstition, that's reaction. New Orleans fights back when your presence threatens the equilibrium of the spiritual pacts sustaining it, and it uses beauty as bait, jazz, food, art, love. But all of it sits atop something restless, something that never sleeps. There's a spiritual arrogance in the air, a sense that nothing can touch this city's throne, and maybe that's because it knows how to cloak itself, how to blend divination with dance, how to decorate demonic pacts with beads and feathers. But God is not deceived by music, and neither are the chosen ones who are awake. Yet, there is something else here, a war, a silent battle happening underneath the glamour, intercessors planted by God. Warriors walking the streets unnoticed, not to participate, but to break what was built. If you've been called to New Orleans, it's not for pleasure. It's for confrontation. And if you're drawn to it, beware. Your assignment might be hidden in your attraction. But be warned. If Salem was memory and Glastonbury was seduction, then New Orleans is possession. This city doesn't just want your attention, it wants your access. And if it can't have your body, it'll aim for your dreams, for your calling, for your voice. And yet, it still isn't the most spiritually guarded place we've found, because the next city on our list isn't famous, it doesn't have festivals or tourists, but what it lacks in attention, it makes up for in sheer darkness. What's coming next hides in silence, and that silence is not empty, it's charged. City number 4, Bloemfontein, South Africa, the coven behind the quiet. Not every stronghold announces itself. Some wear silence like armor. Some thrive not in chaos, but in calm. Bloemfontein is such a place, a city with no international spotlight, no Gothic architecture, no obvious signs of darkness on the surface. It seems safe, respectable, almost invisible. But that's the point. The enemy doesn't always hide in shadows. Sometimes it hides in routine and discipline, in quiet obedience to ancient covenants. Bloemfontein is known as South Africa's judicial capital, but there's a second court operating here, unseen, spiritual, and centuries older than any government, a court of blood, a court of spirits. a court where ancestral debts are paid in flesh and bone. Underneath the structure, beneath the concrete and order, are layers of rituals that never stopped. They simply went underground, and there, in that silence, a different kingdom reigns. Locals speak in whispers, if at all. But if you stay long enough, if you listen beyond what's said, you'll hear it. Stories of children disappearing, of animals found without organs, of dreams that leave people breathless and bruised. And always, the feeling that something beyond comprehension is active, aware, and territorial. You can feel it at night when the city stills. It's not the absence of sound that disturbs you. It's the presence of something else. Watching, waiting. In Bloemfontein, witchcraft doesn't scream. It negotiates. Through ceremonies disguised as culture, through tokens passed from generation to generation, through hands that lay curses with the same calm as prayers. The power here is not chaotic. It's organized, strategic, ancient, rooted in pacts made long before you were born, pacts that still demand payment. Many who visit leave with more than photos. They leave with spiritual fatigue that medicine cannot fix, nightmares that begin the same night they arrive, violent, precise, repetitive. Some report voices calling their names. Others wake up with scratches, and some don't even realize they've been touched until their peace starts leaking slowly, days or weeks later. What makes Bloemfontein dangerous is not the rituals themselves, it's the normality, the way spiritual darkness has been normalized, absorbed into the rhythm of life. No dramatic exorcisms, no visible cults, just energy, thick, invisible, intelligent. It knows when you're unaware. It waits until you drop your guard. And if you're spiritually open but not spiritually rooted, this city will not just touch you, it will claim something from you. But here's the twist no one expects. Chosen ones are often drawn to places like this, not by mistake, but by design. Some of you have been sent into dark territories carrying light that triggers ancient systems. You feel exhausted, not because you're weak, but because your spirit is disrupting atmospheres that haven't been challenged in decades. You feel pressure because the ground beneath you is responding to your frequency. You were noticed, not by people, but by forces who knew what you carried the moment you arrived. Yet even in cities like this, there are assignments. There are chosen ones who awaken in the middle of the night, not from nightmares, but from instructions, who pray silently in hotel rooms and shift atmospheres without saying a word, because the war is real, but so is the power that lives inside of you. And still, we haven't reached the darkest location. Because the final city doesn't just host darkness, it partners with it. And when you hear what happens there, you'll understand why the enemy wanted you distracted. The silence is almost over. What comes next is the sound of the trap snapping shut. City number 5. Toowoomba, Australia. The circle in the forest. Some cities scream, others seduce. But Toowoomba whispers, and that's what makes it lethal. Hidden in the elevated hills of Queensland, this city is easy to overlook. It doesn't brag. It doesn't pull headlines. But deep in its forests, past the quiet roads and the eucalyptus silence, something ancient stirs. Something that never wanted to be found, but is now fully awake. Spiritual communities across Australia know Toowoomba's reputation, not publicly, not in blogs or newspapers, but in private circles, in unrecorded testimonies, in dreams that echo louder than sirens. They speak of a circle in the forest, a specific area avoided by animals, heavy in atmosphere and disturbingly organized. Stones placed in patterned charred remains of what appear to be offerings. The residue of sound, not heard, but felt. It's not a tourist destination. It's a spiritual access point, and those who've stepped into it without divine covering describe the same feeling. Something watching from beneath the roots. You see, Toowoomba doesn't rely on urban distraction. Its power lies in isolation. The farther you go from the city's heart, the closer you come to a reality most people deny. There are gatherings here, unmarked, unspoken, cloaked in words like energy alignment or forest cleansing, but those who attend often experience hours of missing time. Some speak of black-robed figures, others of strange animal behavior, owls circling, dogs refusing to move forward, birds falling dead mid-flight. These aren't metaphors, they're markers of something being invoked again and again. But perhaps the most chilling reports come from chosen ones, those whose spiritual senses are sharpened, those who carry a divine frequency. Many who pass through Toowoomba return with a weight they cannot name, a sense that something entered with them, or worse, followed them home. Not every attack screams. Some simply rearrange your peace, your sleep patterns, your dreams, your clarity, until you forget who you are, not with fear, but with fog. That's the nature of the interference here. Not to frighten you, but to erase your edge. And the rituals, they're not theatrical. They're precise, designed to replicate light, but wired for control. Toowoomba's strongest weapon isn't fear, it's deception. The belief that what's happening is harmless, that gathering under the moon is healing, that invoking unnamed spirits is natural. But no one asks the cost, no one notices the shift, and by the time they do, they're already entangled. This region has also become a magnet for those seeking to merge the mystical with the marketable, selling ascension programs, forest retreats, and third eye activation tours. But here's what no one says out loud. These spaces are being used, hijacked. Not every facilitator knows it, but the forces they've invited do, and those forces are not silent. They're selective. They're drawn to those who carry spiritual power, not to bless them, to bind them. But listen closely now. There's something deeper, a covenant made in the soil of this region. Long before cities rose, long before colonization. It was made in darkness, preserved through blood passed through lineages. And today it still whispers from beneath the trees. It seeks alignment, agreement, access. And if you walk into that forest unarmed, spiritually unsealed, it won't matter what you believe, the ground will recognize your ignorance and respond accordingly. Yet there's a reason you're hearing this now. It's not to paralyze you, it's to prepare you, because some of you are not just passing through dark territories. You're being trained for them. You don't carry light just for yourself. You carry it to confront, to cleanse, to break systems that were built to last forever, until you showed up. And now, we arrive at the threshold. You've seen the cities, you've felt the patterns, but what you're about to hear next will connect everything, the revelation that ties all these strongholds together, and the spiritual decision you must make before it's too late. Get ready. The final moment is calling. This was never about maps. This was never about monuments. This wasn't a sightseeing tour through spiritual landscapes. This was your spiritual alert, a divine transmission, a prophetic call. And if you felt your heart pounding at any point in this message, it's because your spirit recognized the truth. You've been walking through territories that were never safe. You are not just sensitive, you are activated. You don't just carry light, you radiate power. And that power doesn't go unnoticed. It irritates darkness. It disrupts old covenants. It wakes up regions that were spiritually asleep. You were never just passing through. You were being studied, watched, tracked. Because the moment your foot touched the ground, atmospheres shifted, and not everyone, not everything, liked it. Some of you thought your exhaustion was emotional. It wasn't. It was spiritual retaliation. Some of you thought your confusion was mental. It wasn't. It was spiritual interference. You've been under pressure not because you're failing, but because you're on the verge of remembering who you are. This world is not neutral. These cities are not empty, and your life is not random. You were marked, chosen for a mission that doesn't fit into comfort zones or vacation plans. Now you know. And with knowledge comes responsibility. You can't walk blindly anymore. You can't dismiss strange atmospheres as coincidence. You can't enter spiritual war zones dressed like a tourist. You are a divine weapon, and your ignorance has a cost. But now that veil is gone, now you see. Now you understand. Some places are portals, some are prisons, and some were waiting just for you. But here's what darkness forgot. The same way they saw you, heaven saw you first. The same way the enemy prepared traps, God prepared exits, and you're not walking alone. You're not fighting from fear. You're rising in authority. You're moving in wisdom. You're stepping into places now not as prey, but as prophecy fulfilled. Every attack has trained you. Every detour has sharpened you. And every city you pass through from now on will feel the weight of your calling before you say a word. Now, breathe. Lift your head. You've made it to the end, but this is really just the beginning. Type, "I carry holy fire," in the comments if you feel the flames awakening in you again. And if this message stirred something deep in your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Be the voice that wakes up another sleeping warrior. Because now you know, you were never lost. You were never ordinary. You were never safe. You were chosen. And wherever your feet go next, the atmosphere will know your name.